and tourism. Tourism, a subset of hospitality, yes. Again, I'm very excited to be part of this because I've been an advocate of gastronomy in particular, another subset of hospitality, for a long time now. And the Vice-Chancellor has already stolen some of my thunder because everything that the Vice-Chancellor has said I totally agree with about the heart and soul of hospitality. It's a very important thing to come back to, and one of the points I wanted to make was that hospitality is something so ancient that we sometimes forget its importance in our lives. We talk about the hospitality industry, and people understand the hospitality industry from outside as an industry, as a service industry. But hospitality goes back to prehistoric times. And what is hospitality? It really is it's what brings communities together. It's what makes communities actually possible. When we sit across the dinner table from each other and share that bond of conviviality, it's not just, of course, sharing food, but sharing in our act of being together. Without it, we can't have a society. So it's absolutely fundamental to who we are as communities all around the world. And I think, how many students here today? How many students? Put your hands up so I can see. Okay, fantastic. Because, I know we have obviously a lot of really interesting stuff to talk about. We've started the conference already, in fact. Professor Tharakan and I and some of the guests have already been having some interesting discussions, and there'll be lots and lots of discussions throughout the day, and many of you will sit back and listen and hopefully ask questions, but ultimately it's really about drawing the students into this research field, which is an absolutely exciting field to be in. Hospitality opens the door for studies in gastronomy, in tourism, in the environment, and the conference has underlined innovation. I think for me, innovation today is really a fundamental to any course of study that any student does. Everyone needs to innovate today. It's a standard. And what do we have the opportunity to do in hospitality? Well, many, many things. You go into hospitality with something in your heart. You want to care for people. You want to make people happy, give them pleasure, as the Vice-Chancellor said. That's the basis. But with that feeling in your heart, how do you innovate today? Well, as I said, innovation is now something that we all have to do because businesses are innovating all the time now. We live in the world of social media. Businesses are expected to change overnight. We have start-up businesses. We have pop-up businesses. You have an idea, you're able to develop that idea quickly. You can get funding. You can get crowdfunding. You can belong to an incubator. You can, if you're an American college student, you get help from industry who are funding entrepreneurship in America quite strenuously now, keeping young people in college to incubate their business idea and then get out there and make it happen. And what sort of businesses am I talking about in hospitality? Well, again, going back to that idea of caring, what are the issues that face us all? The environment would be a huge one. Sustainability is something we talk about. Sustainable business is part and parcel of the future now. So again, like innovation, they're locked together, innovation and sustainable business. These are opportunities that hospitality students have not only in the hospitality industry. So this is really a big message that I'd like to share with you today, is that when we talk about hospitality education, we're talking about gastronomy, we're talking about tourism, we're talking about the broader scope of what hospitality can do, but not only for graduates who want to go into hospitality, but for graduates who want to go into business. Hospitality is a business, but you have the scope to do so much more than a student who's just done a generic business degree, because you have the people skills, you have the sense of empathy for others, you have the emotional IQ, again, that the Vice-Chancellor mentioned. And we talk about a principle, at least one of my hospitality heroes, Danny Meyer from New York. Has anyone heard of Danny Meyer? Okay, well, you'll probably hear about him from me today, but I've brought along one of his books, so I'll be sharing that with you later. But one of Danny Meyer's principles, and he's a very successful restaurant hospitality entrepreneur, a number of very successful restaurants. He has a principle when he hires his staff that he wants them to have 49% of skills and knowledge of how to do things, but 51% needs to be emotional maturity and integrity and intelligence. Because in hospitality, if you don't have that, you can't really express true hospitality in the business context. And Danny Meyer's point is that, his message rather, is that this 51-49 mix is what everyone needs in business. Every business will gain from employing people who have this kind of hospitality mentality. So it's a very important thing to feel proud of, and I think it's the key message I want you to take away. We have a lot of very interesting papers to look forward to, papers that are discussing, indeed, green hotels, the environment, science and technology. All these are areas that are just waiting for innovation, for graduates to engage with, and indeed as students to get involved in research, think broadly. Some people call hospitality a discipline. Some people call it a multidiscipline, and we do think of it as multidisciplinary. There are a number of disciplines that feed into hospitality. I like to think of it as a super discipline or even an uber discipline, because really when we start talking about food and social life and the environment and caring for people and having empathy, we're really talking about a lot of what goes on in the world. And if we can carry that through in our resolve to make a difference, we're really in a good place. And, you know, let's face it, we want to be positive, but the planet faces a lot of challenges, and we're all travellers on the planet together. There's a Greenpeace activist who I saw recently on the television saying, using an old sort of metaphor really, that the Earth is a spaceship, and that we're passengers on the spaceship, and that the crew are actually the insects, the birds, the environment that we live in. And it was a really, I think he's been using that metaphor for 30 or 40 years, but it struck me as such an amazing way to understand it, because we really are passengers as human beings. The Earth can do without us, but it can't do without the environment, the beetles, the bugs, all the things that make nature work. So we really have to look after it, and that's part of our duty of care in hospitality, making our businesses environmentally friendly, and promoting that message of care to the wider community. The last thing I therefore want to stress is that we do have an obligation in hospitality to give back to the community. And I think some of the papers address this today as well. The idea that once a business is successful, that it starts to engage with the community to do good works in the community and pulls the community into that to that larger sort of hospitality feeling that we all have. I don't think I have a huge window to talk to you today. I would like to talk more, and I'm sure we all will be talking to each other throughout the day. Again, it's wonderful to be here at Goenka supporting the iHOST 2016. I'm sure the event will be a success in years to come. I look forward to speaking with, I hope, as many of you as I can in the next, over the day. Thank you again to Professor Tharakan. Enjoy yourselves, and thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful keynote address, driving home the point about EQ vis-a-vis IQ, something which is so important for the hospitality industry. Today, we are honored to have amongst us our guest of honor, Dr. Ashish Dhaya. Dr. Ashish Dhaya is Professor and Head, Department of Tourism and Hotel Management, Dean, School of Languages, Linguistics, Culture and Heritage, and Director, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Central University of Haryana. He has served as Director, Institute of Hotel and Tourism Management, Maharshi Dayanand University, Rohtak, Haryana. He has also been an Associate Professor at IHT MMDU, Reader in Hotel and Tourism Management at HNB Garhwal Central University, Uttarakhand.